Thank you so much for staying with us here in iBrand Daybreak. And we're moving to the focus for today. Of course, the recent abduction of over 280 pupils and teachers from 2 schools in Kaduna State, Nigeria, has ignited widespread concern and condemnation across the country. The government secondary school Kuruga and a nearby primary school Shikun local government were targeted by armed bandits in a brazen attack, highlighting the ongoing security challenges faced by communities in Nigeria. The Minister of Education, Tahiru Maman, expressed deep concern over the incident and appealed to security agencies and the Kaduna State government to take urgent action to ensure the safe rescue of the abducted individuals. In response to the abduction, family members of the abducted children gathered in Kuruga to express their anguish and demand immediate action from government authorities. Governor Ubasani visited the scene of the attack to assess the situation and reassured the affected families that every effort would be made to secure the safe return of the abducted pupils and teachers. Governor Sani also reached out to President Bola Tinubu and the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu to brief them on the incident and seek additional support in addressing the security challenges facing the state. And to have this conversation with us this morning is Chinedu Michael. He is a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Mr. Michael. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
All right. I mean, the news broke out over the weekend. It's been everywhere. But let us take a look at, what it means to declare a state of emergency on a certain sector. The past administration of President Buhari, former President Buhari, did declare a state of emergency on security sector. However, little or nothing was done. The situation did remain the same. And now we are having bandits kidnap children, school children from Kaduna and IDP camps in Borno. Of course, it has gotten to a point where we should declare a state of emergency. But the way as it is in Nigeria, it's looking like when you declare a state of emergency, it's only on paper. It's only for good English, for look good on media. First of all, let's get your reaction to the recent abduction and then why we haven't had an actual state of emergency declared on security in the country.
I think the government need to actually, come up and know what to do. This is the biggest kidnapping that have taken place for the last 10 years, and after the Chibok, this happens to be the largest one. And unfortunately, up till now, the government has not been proactive in that regard. We have not seen anything, to write home about. It's okay, this is what we are doing. Talking in terms of legislation, maybe come out with tougher measures so that at the end of the day, we'll be able to, tame down this menace that has caused a lot of families so much, problem. The government has not been able to, tackle insecurity when you talk about kidnapping to the satisfaction of, fears of many Nigerians till date. So for me, government have not done anything, to impact on the security in that regard. So it's not something to write home about. Nobody's going to commend government for anything because we have not seen anything done in that regard. Talking about state of emergency anyway, that has been the government way of, telling you they're always at the top of the situation, and at the end of the day, they are not on top of the situation. So the fact still remains that, this is about almost the 20th kidnapping that has taken place in schools, across, especially in the north. And up till now, they still come out to tell us, okay, we are on top of the situation, we are doing that and doing that. At the end of the day, those 287, or about 300 students, are just somewhere in the forest and nobody knows their whereabouts. And it has continued like that for over decades now. If government actually want to declare state of emergency on some of on issues that has to do with life and property, in a securing life, and especially children. I think by now would have been seeing, the indices would have been pointing, the direction that government is going in that regard. So it's not for me, I've not seen anything concrete the government is doing, either by legislation or otherwise. What they after is, at the end of the day, maybe they just look for, it's a trending fact now, ransom is always, being tabled between the people who are perpetrating this kind of evil, and at the end of the day, whether we'll be luckier, and see those gears, those students, rescued, that will be a topic for another day.
All right, I really appreciate your submission on the matter, especially looking at it from the angle of insecurity, especially in the Northeast. You would agree with me that in the recent past administration, I'm talking about Buhari's administration, he had a whole lot of support from the U.S. government. At the time, it was Donald Trump who assured him that he was going to make sure that the U.S. give Nigeria support when it comes to military equipment and war equipment to be able to decimate, insurgency in Nigeria. Now, my question to you is, despite the support given to Buhari, which of course will also, trickle down to this new administration, why did it take the APC this long? I'm putting it on their table right about now because they've been in governance for maybe close to, say, 8 years and some months. Yeah. Why did it take them this long to be able to use those war weapons? That's number one. Number two, what is the reason behind they not stamping insurgency in Nigeria, especially in the Northeast, as a terror group? They wouldn't blink an eye to be able to stamp, quote and unquote, an IPOP group as a terror group, an ESN group as a terror group. Why did it take them this long to stamp Bandits and Boko Haram as a terror group? That's number one. Number two, your submission said this is the second biggest kidnap we've ever had, especially from that particular area.
Yes, about 10 years now.
Good. Now, looking at the number of pupils that were taken into captivity, to the tune of 200 plus, we understand the landmass in the north. So one will begin to understand the security architecture when it comes to its spread in that area. But come to look at it, how did it happen that 200 plus pupils were conveyed? The question is, through what means? Because if you look at it, a coastal bus has its 40-seater capacity, right? And now it will take about 4 or 5 coastal buses to conveniently take those girls out of that school. How did it happen that those buses, or whatever mode of transport that we're using conveying those girls out, weren't spotted? Through what road? That's my question.
Well, billions of naira, let me say, has gone into the issue of security in Nigeria, and up to date, we've not been able to, tackle that menace very well. And it's left for the government now to, sit down. We've seen what happened during Buhari era, government, a lot of insecurity like this, killings, especially in the middle belt, Benue, Plateau, and all the rest. We have seen such things happen over and over and over again. And when the government are being confronted, they always tell you they're on top of these situations. And at the end of the day, we're still where we are. I think, for me, I think is lack of, political will, because of certain interest.
But it got the support through force.
Of course,
okay.
The support is always there. Even Nigeria supported that administration in that regard. The US also were able to provide, certain assistance, security-wise, to make sure that some of these killings, by supposed or being alleged to be carried out by some Fulani herdsmen, and some of their sets like that believed, in one agenda or the other. you know. So they have, government will not say they have not had enough support in terms of, you know, providing security.
So what is the reason behind us stamping that particular group, Boko Haram, Bandit, as a terror group?
I think it's left for the government to actually decide if there is no secret understanding, you know, between the government and what is happening in Nigeria for over how many years now. They've not been able to take a particular decision based on those issues, you know, and those people who are terrorizing, especially Nigerians in the northern part of the country. It's something that, you know, some of us, when we look at it, we feel that, you know, there must be something the government is trying to hide, or there must be something some certain political interests are trying to, you know, play along. You know, at the end of the day, they make billions of naira, you know, out of the insecurity in Nigeria. I'm quite sure of that it's benefiting a lot of people. A lot of people are cashing out, you know, on top of the security issues. And the government knows this thing. They can't tell me that government does not know what to do to stamp out, at least to a certain level, reduce kidnapping and security issues, you know, across the, especially in the northern part of the country.